Hello boys and girls, welcome to the Math Club. In this video we're going to talk about calculation or calculating using standard form. Question 5. Work out each calculation, give your answers in standard form. So here they asked me to give it in standard form. Here we have addition and subtraction. So here we're going to add and subtract standard forms. So here you have to focus on the steps. First, with addition, I have 3.2 times 10 power of 5 plus 2.47 times 10 power of 5. You can notice here that we have the same powers. But in the other question, we have different powers. In addition and subtraction, it's easier if you had the same powers. So if you have the same powers, what do? You take 10 power of 5 as a common factor, so it's going to be right here. So the answer will be 10 power of 5. And because we took 10 power of 5 from both sides, I'm going to remove it from here and remove it from here. That's it for the 10 power of 5. And then I'll come to the other numbers, 3.2 and 2.47, and I'm going to add them. I'm going to add them because the question asked me to add them. So I'm going to say 3.2 plus 2.47. 2.47. And the answer is 5.67. So 5.67 multiplied by 10 power of 5. So as we said, if you have the same power over the 10, it means you can use it in the answer and then add the other numbers and put it here. That's the idea of adding standard forms. If you have the same powers, it's easy. You just take the power, 10 with the power, and add the other numbers. Now, let's take a look on addition with different powers. Now, if I have a question like this, B, 4.5 times 10 power of 4 plus 2.7 times 10 power of 3. Here, I have different powers. Now, if I have different powers, it means I have to make them the same and then do the addition or subtraction part. As we said before, you can do this part in the calculator and this part in the calculator, and then add them. At the end, turn it into standard. You can do that. Now, I'm not doing this all the time because I want to show you different methods of answering these questions. Here, I'm going to follow the idea of having the same powers with addition and subtraction. So, 10 power of 4 and 10 power of 3, I'm going to make them the same. How can I make them the same? By turning one of them to the other one. So this one is 10 power of 3. I can make it 10 power of 4, or I can make this 10 power of 3. Now, it's easier to make the bigger power smaller, because once you make the bigger power smaller, it means what? It means you're going to make this bigger. But after you add the numbers, for example, this one will be 45 times 10 power of 3, right? So 45 times 10 power of 3, you'll have a problem when you add 45 to 2.7 because it's not going to be in standard. And you'll have another step in turning this into standard. So I prefer that you make the 10 power of 3 into 10 power of 4 and move the decimal point one time here. So the idea is what? I'm going to move the decimal point here. So this one will be 0.27 multiplied by 10. And because I moved the decimal point here, I'm going to remove, I'm going to add 1 power here, like this. So I'm going to add 1, it's going to be 4. And why did that happen? Because I moved the decimal point to the negative side of the x-axis. It means I'm going to add 1 to the power here. Now, this one will be 10 power of 4. Now I can answer the question using the common factor or the common powers. So here 10 power of 4, 10 power of 4. It means the answer will have 10 power of 4. So this is the answer. Let me show you. The answer will have 10 power of 4. Now, I'm going to add these numbers because I already took 10 power of 4 as a common factor and I put it in the answer. Now 4.5, I'm going to add it with 0.27. Because I turned 2.7 into 0.27, I'm not going to use 2.7 again. So 4.5 plus 0.27 is going to be 4.77. So I took the common power, which is 10.4, and then after that I added 4.5 with 0.27, and I've got 4.77. Now let's do question C. Question C, 5.8 times 10 power of negative 6 minus 1.4 times 10 power of negative 6. Same idea as we said. If we have the same powers and we're adding or subtracting, it means I'm going to take this 10 with the power as a common number and put it in the answer like this, 10 power of negative 6. And then I have 5.8 and 1.4. I'm going to do what? I'm going to subtract them. So 5.8 minus 1.4. 1.4. So minus 1.4. And the answer is 4.4. So this one is 4.4 multiplied by 10 power of negative 6. As we said, if we have common powers, if we have the same powers, we can add and subtract the numbers here and take the same 10 with the power and put it in the answer. Now, let's check question D. In question D here, we have different powers. We have here 10 power of negative 5 and here 10 power of negative 7. And as I said before, you can do the whole thing in a calculator and it will give you the answer. But I want you to understand the steps and how to do them. Now here, as I said, we have different powers. It means we have to make them the same. This one is 10 power of negative 5 and this one is 10 power of negative 7. Now, when you try to make powers the same, it's easier if you make numbers smaller, if you make these numbers smaller. So if I want to make a number smaller, it means the power will be what? Very good. I'm going to add a power to the power that it has. So to make a number smaller, I'm going to move the decimal point to one side, and then I'm going to add how many times I moved it, so I got the smaller number to get to the other power. For example, this one is negative 5 and this one is negative 7. And the difference between them is what? Very good. The difference between them is 2. So I have to make the smaller power bigger. So the negative 7, I have to make it negative 5. As we said, we have to make this number smaller. So when we add them, we're still having a standard form number between 1 and 10. So I need to make this plus 2 here. So plus 2. As we said, the difference is 2. That's why I added 2 here. So this one will be negative 5. 10 power of negative 5. And because I added the plus 2 here, it means I'm going to move this 2 times to the negative side on the x. So this one, 6.5. When I move it, so 6.5 here. When I move it, I'll move it 1, 2, I'll put it here. I'll put zeros before it and after it. So it's going to be 0.065 multiplied by 10 power of negative 5. Power of negative 5. Now here this one is the same, so when you multiply this and multiply this, you'll still have the same numbers. So here, let's take a look now, because we have the same powers here. So 10 power of negative 5 and 10 power of negative 5, it means the answer will have the same power, which is 10 power of negative 5. I'll write it here. As I said, first thing you have to do is make the powers the same, and then once you make them the same, you're gonna subtract or add depending on the question. Now here we're gonna subtract 2.9 minus 0.065. Let's do it together. So 2.9 minus 0.065. 0.065. And the answer is 2.835. So 2.835 multiplied by 10 with the power of negative 5. And this is how you answer a question like this. You have to focus on this. If you have the same powers, use them directly, and then add and subtract the numbers between 1 and 10. And if you have different powers, you have to make them the same, and then you can add and subtract the other numbers. And this is how you answer a question like this. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.